Welcome back, everybody. This Week in America, website thisweekinamerica.us. As mentioned in the beginning, we're continuing our discussion of the award-winning book, When Tumor is the Rumor and Cancer is the Answer, by Dr. Kevin Ryan, a board-certified in internal medicine as well as hematology and oncology, retired decorated full colonel from the United States Air Force, and himself a cancer survivor. He's been with us on the past 2 weeks on This Week in America. Those interviews, by the way, on YouTube, as well as iTunes, Google Play, Podomatic. If you go to our website, thisweekinamerica.us, you can click on the appropriate icon and listen or watch those interviews with Dr. Ryan. On the program, as I mentioned today, these are former alumni, the same school that Dr. Kevin Ryan attended. They both, unfortunately, lost loved ones to cancer, and they're talking about the impact that had on their lives, as well as the book, When Tumor is the Rumor and Cancer is the Answer. Joining us on the program, Marie Sampieri and Tom Bruchalski. Marie, Tom, welcome to the program. It's great to have you with us.
Oh, thank you, Rick.
Great to be here, Rick. Thanks.
This is such an important message to share, and the book is award-winning, 5-star reviewed. It's a common sense, one-of-a-kind, straight-talking book. Let's talk a little bit about the impact cancer had in your life as caretakers, as well as the book had in your lives. And Marie, I will start with you. You've got an interesting story with Dr. Ryan. I mentioned you went to the same school together, but as I understand, you didn't know each other, but he re-entered your life.
Yes, he did. Initially, we had gone to the same high school together. Kevin was a year ahead of me, and on my graduation day, he sent me a single red rose, and I didn't know him. We never dated. We never spoke, and years later, his dad ended up being a patient of my boss, who was chief of pulmonary at the time, and after that, I got to know Kevin's mom when his dad passed away, as she volunteered at the hospital in the gift shop. And then we lost touch, and years later, through another fellow classmate email, we reconnected, and Kevin mailed my beloved fiance Dominic and I his wonderful masterpiece of a book. And we've been conversing ever since. I was so impressed by his book and all the material that it contains. That book helped me so very, very much when Dominic was in his last days, and it was a comfort to me as well as a wealth of knowledge.
Yeah, the book has been called a must-read for any cancer patient and their family. You fall into that category, and that's exactly what you're saying, that this really gave you new insight. I mean, there's so much in the book when you stop and you look at the table of contents and go through. It really walks you all the way through the journey, doesn't it?
It does. It does. It touches on every emotion, every feeling, every modality of treatment that there's out there. It explains the different tests that a patient will go through and encounter. I mean, it's just, it's a marvelous, marvelous guidebook. And I feel that every oncologist's office should have this book available for not only their patients to read, but also the patient's family members, because that's what I was, the family member, the caretaker, and it was a wonderful, wonderful source of information for me.
The book we're talking about is When Tumor is the Rumor and Cancer is the Answer, written by Dr. Kevin Ryan, our guest on the past 2 This Week in Americas. His website is very simple, When Tumor is the Rumor and Cancer is the Answer.com. Book is available in a number of formats. You can get all of the information at the website, When Tumor is the Rumor and Cancer is the Answer.com. Of course, you can go to our website, thisweekinamerica.us, and link on directly to that website. There is so much information there. It's an award-winning website. You can go there and get a lot of information, including up-to-date blogs that Dr. Ryan puts on to give you a lot of information. And Marie, I'll talk for you a second, then we'll introduce Tom and get his story here as well. But what did this mean for you when you actually had the book and you were able to look through this and see the various stages that you were going through. You've got anxiety, you've got fear, you've got depression in you and in the patient, in this case, your fiance. What was it like when you had that book? It's almost like a guide through the process.
Well, I'll tell you, Rick, I know myself, I was feeling very, very depressed as the caretaker for my fiance. And after reading the section in the book that deals with depression and anxiety and fear, I myself sought help and got on some antidepressant medication. And I probably wouldn't have done that if I didn't read that in the book and felt that I, too, needed help, along with Dominic. And my fiance was also on an antidepressant for a while there, and those meds really, really helped us to, be able to deal with what was lying ahead for us in the future.
Yeah, as you're fighting that fear, anxiety, fear of the unknown, certainly, and depression, you certainly probably do not make the right decision, so it's to everybody's benefit if you have a clear mind. What's really so nice about the book, When Tumor is the Rumor and Cancer is the Answer, it not only talks about what you should be doing, what the loved one can expect, but what you can as well, what you need during this journey you're going through. Tom, let's talk a little bit about your situation. You got this book late. What difference would this book have made in your life if you would have had this during the period your wife was fighting cancer?
Well, okay, Rick. Marie and I have had many discussions. I've been mentoring her because I've gone through the process, and she's still going through it. But in my case, see, I as you and I discussed earlier, I had no direction. I wasn't able to make informed decisions because I didn't have resource material. And you can't, what I like to say is you can't conquer what you don't confront, and you can't confront what you're unable to identify. And when you're in a battle with cancer, although I wasn't in the battle, but my wife was, you need identifying sources. You need something tangible in front of you that you can present. You can't walk in a doctor's office blind. Okay? You need something today. All the treatments that are out there, all the resources that are out there, and Kevin outlines them so well in the book with all the different websites, and like even on his website, you have the different blogs and stuff you can get to. It's guidance, okay, for not only the patient, the caregiver, but you know what? It's also guidance for even for an oncologist and their staff, because in all reality, no one doctor knows everything, okay? And there's always something being found out, and there's always a little tidbit of information that may help. In my case, I'll be quite honest, there was nothing that could be done, okay? By the time my wife was diagnosed and she entered treatment, it was pretty much a done deal, decided what was going to happen, okay? But we were going through the motions. But I mean, I had no directions. I didn't know what to expect. What would happen after her initial chemo treatment or after 2 treatments? Did we need to be on antibiotic therapy? I find all these things out after, because of dropping white cell counts or whatever. And this book addresses all this stuff. It's an arsenal, if you will, against, fighting the disease, okay? And everybody, if you're in a war, you need weaponry, you need information. And this is a cancer patient's weapon and their arsenal against, as they fight their way through the disease.
We're talking about the book, When Tumor is the Rumor and Cancer is the Answer, written by Dr. Kevin Ryan. The website is very simple, When Tumor is the Rumor and Cancer is the Answer.com. Information there on the book, blogs, great information at the website. You can log on directly to our website, thisweekinamerica.us, and get the information there as well. Tom, it's interesting because you got the book unfortunately, after it was too late to really have an impact on your life or your wife's life. But you're so enthusiastic about this because it obviously answered a lot of questions that you had at the time, and you could see where this would be a great guide if you would have had this 10 years ago.
But you see what it was, Rick, and I've told this to Marie. My problem was I was suffering with a lot of self-doubt and guilt, okay? Because, as humans, we always second-guess ourselves. Was there something more I could have done? Did I miss something? was there a symptom that I overlooked? Because you're dealing with, your wife or your loved one 24 hours a day. The doctors only see them once every week or once every couple of weeks. But, and you notice the little nuances in someone's behavior. And this has been nagging for years and years and years. And after I've been reading Kevin's book, it's, it's like I was joking with Maria. I says, it's like that line from the movie Liar, Liar. And the truth shall set you free. Reading this, it set me free from a lot of self-doubt and a lot of the guilt I've been carrying for years, because now I know I've done whatever I could, and it was absolutely beyond the scope of my reach, okay? But knowing that the things that I did were the proper things to do at the time, and now this can help every single patient and their caregivers out there, because it's, like I said, it's their weapon against fighting cancer.
You're listening to This Week in America. Our website is thisweekinamerica.us. Marie Sampieri and Tom Bruchalski with us on the program. Former alumni at the same school that Dr. Kevin Ryan went to. Dr. Ryan, of course, the author of the book When Tumor is the Rumor and Cancer is the Answer. They're surviving caretaking. They unfortunately had loved ones who died from cancer. Now talking about the importance of this book, what this meant to them, what this will mean for people that are listening to the program, and literally the millions of people who are impacted out there. And Maria, I want to go back and ask you a question. We're talking about the table of contents and all the various chapters there. One that is so important is autonomy. Talk about the importance of that. That's one that Dr. Ryan really stressed, that that's important for people to understand that word and what it means in this battle.
Yes. Rick, autonomy means essentially that the person that has been diagnosed with the disease of cancer has the right to make his or her own decisions regarding their care, their treatment, end-of-life decisions. In the book it covers all phases of treatment, and I myself, being the type of person that has that overwhelming type of personality where I want to be in control and I want to tell everybody what to do, because in the past I took care of both of my parents. I've overseen my brother's care over the years, and after reading the section on autonomy, I finally came to the conclusion that, Dominic has the right to make he had the right to make his own decisions, and he was certainly of competent mind, and I had the hard task of having to pull back and let him do as he wanted to. And that's the way that it should be.
You're listening to This Week in America. We're talking about the book When Tumor is the Rumor and Cancer is the Answer by Dr. Kevin Ryan. The website is simple. It's the name of the book.com. When Tumor is the Rumor and Cancer is the Answer.com. One thing that's really stressed in the book in talking about the caretaker is the distress that they go through. In your case, both of you went through, and so susceptible to depression. Talk about, in reading that aspect of the book, and how important that is for the caretaker to understand the pitfalls that lie ahead.
Yes, in my case, Rick, I had no support from any social worker or group that was offered to me, and I was in the state of Florida, where I really didn't have my friends and family around me. So I was essentially all alone with Dominic. And the book is what comforted me, not any cancer group or support system. And I feel that's why I was getting more depressed as time went on. And, in Kevin's book, he advises that, people look for support when they're going through this journey with their loved one, because it is very, very vital and very important that you have, those supports around you. because, it gives you added strength to push forward.
Tom, talk about that from your standpoint. This was a number of years ago, but so often the emphasis is on the patient, which of course it needs to be, but sometimes it comes at the neglect of the caretaker in this case. How important is that for the caretaker to understand you need to be alert as to problems you're having as well?
Well, you see, Rick, in my case, it was a little bit different because, like I said, I was having to make decisions on the fly, and there was just so much happening, one thing after another. It was just one pitfall after another, and mine didn't hit me until after my wife had died. And like I even told Marie, we were discussing, I said, and I remember coming home the day of her funeral, and I got changed from my suit, and I sat in my chair, and I put my head back, and I closed my eyes, and I remember telling her, it was like I was falling backwards it's like somebody threw me in a well. And I saw the light disappearing as I fell deeper and deeper, and for 3 years, I was lost because I didn't have, if I had this book directing me to different resources, and of course I have to be, fair. Back then the internet was still in its fledgling stages because it was 18 years ago or 15 years ago, excuse me. And, there wasn't as much, there was as much disinformation as there was information. Now with all these credible sources that Kevin has listed and like his website with all these blogs, people you can interact with, that wasn't available to me then, and it would have been, it would have helped me tremendously because you can't commiserate with other people that are in your situation because two people in the same situation are only going to magnify each other's problem. You have to have someone there that's gone through the process, that's survived it like I did, and then able to guide people through it, to help them cope with their anxieties, their depression, and their grief, okay? And like I said, back then, I'm in the same boat as Marie was. I had no support system, nothing. And they were giving me all these little pamphlets and stuff, little fluff things, but nothing like is here in this book.
I've got a couple minutes left in this segment, and then I'm going to ask Marie and Tom to stay with us for the second segment of the program. And it's interesting you mentioned you basically were making decisions on the fly. The doctor would come, ask you a question, you had to answer it right away. You did this all by yourself, sort of by knowledge, intuition, but you did it very quickly. Had you had this book, which goes through a lot of the questions that I'm sure you were asked and sort of breaks it down and guides you through that process, how valuable would this book have been if you would have had it back then in making those decisions and making sure that you, at least feeling like you made the right decision?
Exactly. And I would have had, with the book, I would have known the questions to ask.
Yes.
Like they say, there are no stupid questions, okay, especially when you're in a fight with a disease like cancer. Okay, so having this book and just, reading it and saying to the doctor, well, doctor, what do I do about this? What's this? What is that? Having this resource to ask those hard questions, it would help to make the decisions that I had to make rather than doing it, just by gut instinct.
It's interesting because I'm sure you're going through, should I ask this question or will I embarrass myself because of my lack of knowledge? Here you have a book written by an oncologist who's saying, go ahead and ask this question. The book we're talking about is When Tumor is the Rumor and Cancer is the Answer by Dr. Kevin Ryan. The website is When Tumor is the Rumor and Cancer is the Answer.com. We're going to keep Marie and Tom here. A couple more minutes left in the program. Let's take a break and we'll be back. Of course, information on today's program available at our website, thisweekinamerica.us.